Michael,
like
that's not an
push.
answer. That's not an answer. I would like a more direct answer if that's okay. Knowing what you know now, having the opportunity to do this again, would you have taken the opportunity to engage with the community before making the decision, or would you have done things the same way that you did them? If you're starting or growing your business in these volatile times in coffee and you need a little extra support, our scope of business advisory services may be just what you need. Join one of our hugely successful mastermind groups for support in a group setting, or send us an email to discuss our one-on-one consulting and business advisory services, where we'll work with you one-on-one to solve specific problems in your coffee business. All our services come with a 100% money-back guarantee, so send us an email at support@mapperforward.org and let us know how we can help you today. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is episode 3 of a very interesting 5-part series with Michael Sheridan from the CQI. We're talking about the changes at the CQI. And in the last episode, we talked about the details of the agreement, how it happened, and what it is, basically. And we're specifically talking about the agreement that licenses the Q to the SCA. And the SCA are no longer calling it the Q, they're calling it the CVA. And there are a lot of things that came up in that discussion. And I kind of just let Michael talk in that episode, because I think it's important for all of you to hear what happened in Michael's words. In this episode, we're going to talk about the reaction to the changes that were announced. And I want to start that conversation, Michael, by asking if when the first round, let's say, I think you were saying in November 2024, there was a clear signal that you gave, if I understand what you had said, if I remember correctly, there was a clear signal that the CQI was sticking with the 2004 cupping form in November 2024, correct? And you said that you had engaged with the community through that process, correct? Your community, the Q grading community. One of the things, there is, that I guess the best way to explain or to describe the general sentiment out there, like we said in the series with Tim, a lot of people are feeling betrayed. And I think where a lot of that comes from is that in November 2024, it seemed that you guys were doing the right thing by engaging the community around conversation about the direction that you take things. And when it came to this current situation, you did not do that. What people are wondering is, were you bullied? Was it a financial thing? Like, the betrayal is coming from, why could you ask us before and you could not ask us now?
Yeah. So just one thing, you said in the intro that SCA is no longer calling it the Q. I think that's not accurate. I think they are calling it the Q. I think that was the objective of the licensing. Yeah, so continue to call it the Q.
Okay, so in what capacity are they? Okay, let's leave that aside.
Yeah.
Because people are going to be out there and saying, wow, that was crafty of him. He deflected from the question. No.
Oh, no, I'm not trying to deflect. 100%.
I know.
So the question is about lack of consultation. And so, I think the answer is very much, was it financial? Was it, did we get bullied? I think the last episode was the deep dive on kind of what brought us back to the table and why we were compelled to come to an agreement on such short notice. Just to sum up, I think it was a blend of sort of financial and mission considerations, which for a nonprofit like CQI are kind of indivisible. Our ability to deliver on our mission is shaped by our financial standing. So, we were not bullied. We saw opportunity in the in the agreement. The thing that was the thing that precluded us from having the kinds of respectful conversations that we should have had with our community was the time frame. And even when we were on our way to the meeting, I was clear, like, hey, we're not going to come to any agreement by SCA. There's just no way. And then when we got in the room, we realized, like, oh, that actually is the time frame, because, well, once a competitor is launched, we're kind of locked into that dynamic, and so that really kind of blew everything up in terms of process. We knew at that point, like, if we do come to an agreement, this is not the process that we want, but it was a process that was kind of dictated by the schedule.
Dictated by the schedule or dictated by the SCA?
Well, I mean, the SCA has been, they released this in 2 years. They've been slow walking it forward, gradually building support. In our conversations with them late last year, they said, like, if we can't find a way to collaborate, like, we got to move forward, and we're going to release our program, and we understood that. But I think, and at the time in November, when we said we're going to continue with the 2004 form, there was a set of kind of considerations around what we thought the financial and mission impact of that would be, and those considerations changed pretty quickly in the beginning of 2025 in the ways that we went into in the last episode. So it was a schedule that they had been working on for years, and it was a product that was coming to market. So it was just the pace of the process of their rollout of the CVA, the kind of the last stage. So it was the 2 years of buildup, and then the decommissioning of the 2004 form, and then the launch of the CVA-based program in April.
This is confusing me, and excuse my ignorance here if I'm not getting this, but the 1 + 1 doesn't seem to equal 2 here, because, and I'm not suggesting that there's anything underhanded that's happening. The part that's confusing to me is that a decision was made in November last year to consult with your community. And then in April this year, you came back to the table with the SCA, right? Why not give the community the respect that they deserved, regardless of whatever the SCA was doing? Because what I think that you've lost is trust. I'm confused why you would sacrifice that trust for, if you are, and you are mission focused, why you would sacrifice that trust for a commercial reason. I'm confused.
Yeah. That is exactly it. It's trust. We've lost trust given the process, and that's clear. And it was never clearer than that it's been in our conversations with our QE educators, both in the room in Houston and then virtually since then.
But can we go back to April? Can we go back to April, please? What my question is what was the mitigating factor that allowed you, whether it's you on your own or you as the board or you as whoever it was that made this decision, and I'd love to know who that was, but what's the mitigating factor that leaves you guys thinking, no, I don't mean time. I mean specifically what's the issue with the time that says we have to be forced into rushing this now because what? What happens if you have asked everybody?
Well, if we had gone past April, the Q would have been in competition with an SCA competitor.
So what?
And
let's say it goes in competition for another month. What's the problem?
Well, I think we didn't see a path back at that point. This was the time frame. We made a determination that the time frame for action was by Expo to avoid moving into that competitive dynamic and accessing the terms of the agreement that we ultimately settled on.
But, and that's where I'm confused. What was going to happen in a month after Expo, or 2 months? Let's say you had taken 2 weeks, 3 weeks or a month to engage with the community and then make the decision. What would have been the major financial hit to the SCA, to the CQI, that would have debilitated you? Because I can't see that you've lost that much revenue since, or gained any revenue because of the decision. The agreement wasn't to terminate Q-grading certificates immediately. That's not happening until September, the end of September. And so the industry, for many different reasons, but the Q-grading community has clearly indicated to me that they're pissed as to why they were not consulted when you had clearly demonstrated your desire to consult with them in November. So to say it's time, respectfully, sounds like a cop-out. Because I still don't understand why you couldn't have taken the time, and why the SCA's timeline was more important than the members' timeline.
Yeah, it was the determination that we made that we made a commitment to act on that timeline to avoid getting into the competitive dynamic, with the understanding that we didn't know there would be a path back to an agreement, and we would have been, the feeling was we would have been locked into this competitive dynamic, which had all the downsides that we.
But who convinced you that there was no path back? Is it the SCA? Is it the board at the CQI? Who is it that says to you there's not going to be a path back?
I think it was a kind of a determination that we made at the board level, that this was the understanding of the opportunity, that it was kind of time bound.
Do you mind me asking who's on the board at the CQI?
I mean, it's like 12 people. It's a range of people, corporate, nonprofit. I mean, the website.
Do you know who they are off the top of your head?
If you want me to list them?
Yeah, if you don't mind. Just tell me, I'm trying to get an understanding.
The chair, sure. The chair is Matthew Mills. He's based in the UK. He has a roastery in the UK and a trading operation in Colombia. The vice chair is a guy called Matt Swenson at Farmer Brothers here in the US. Mm-hmm. The secretary is Art Lander from Inspired Duncan. The treasurer is a guy called Felipe Isaza, who has a Colombian-based trading company. And then there are other at-large members. One is from the Colombian National Coffee Growers Federation. One is from Starbucks. One is from Stumptown Coffee. One is from Vol Cafe Trading. This is a bit of a list.
These are people who are well-versed in business. These are not people who wouldn't be able to say, okay, let's compete. Let's figure out how the SCA can seem to be able to roll this out. And we, an esteemed board that comes from huge companies, couldn't figure out how to do this. I'm still stuck on how a decision that was previously made with the members was deemed not necessary, or there were too many time constraints. Well, I mean, did you guys expect that the SCA was going to crush the business within a month?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was all of those dynamics. We were talking about in the last episode or the episode before, about beginning this process of competition, communication with producers, communication with the Q community, communication with the coffee sector about these two standards that are now in opposition to one another. Even beginning down that path was not something that there was a lot of appetite for. And it felt like we were going to be locked into a dynamic in that way. And that was not something that was explicitly, there was an explicit pressure exerted by SCA around the timeline. This was the kind of the determination that we reached on our side, that this was the window for action, and understanding that it was dysfunctional all the ways that you're talking about in terms of consultation and community engagement.
So it was a deliberate decision. Well, it was a cognitive. Let me say this in a different way, and as a question. There was clarity. You guys understood that you were taking this decision without seeking the advice of the members in your community. And you anticipated the blowback of that?
Yes. It was.
Can you help me
what led
understand
us
more of that process?
Yeah. It was what led us to focus on, what is the pathway for members of the community to the new queue, trying to ensure that there's as much continuity as possible for people who want to continue their journeys as learners or as educators through the process of transition, which has been documented. We could talk about it if you want, but that was a primary concern, saying, look, this is not optimal from a communication standpoint. We're not running this through a broader community process, but can we at least focus on ways that members of the community can be offered kind of privileged access to the new process to try to minimize the disruption to learning, to businesses, to planning about coffee education. But
you made
understanding that there was not going to be time for consultation with the people who will be affected.
But you made those decisions without consulting the people who it was going to affect, which would be fine if you were a corporation. And I have now come to expect that behavior from the SCA is acting like a corporation, even though they're registered like a nonprofit. You guys have up to now acted like a nonprofit, registered like a nonprofit. This move is a corporate move. And that's the feedback that I'm getting from people. Go on.
No, that's 100%. We move fast and we broke things, and we broke relationships, which are the worst things to break, because there's no guarantee you can get them back.
Right, but what I don't want to gloss over is the thinking behind that, because it's very clear that that's already happened, right? We don't. Mm-hmm. You've acknowledged it, and there is a bravery in acknowledging it and saying it publicly. But I think it's important that we understand how it was allowed to happen. Because if there's ever going to be any bridge that's built, people need to understand why you intentionally broke it. Because you knew that you weren't, you deliberately did not engage with your community. You're saying it was a time thing, but you're also acknowledging, by having consulted with them in November, that you intentionally did not consult with them this time. I think people are really struggling to try and understand why. And I'm not sure that time is... And you're saying that it's time, but what I'm trying to understand is what's the element of time that wouldn't have allowed you to say, we can do this in a month. We're going to pause for 1 month. We're going to talk to our members, and we're going to make a decision as a group of people because this is going to impact the livelihood of a lot of people. And maybe as a group, we can decide how we can be competitive. That's what people are trying to understand. So if you're saying that it's time, that is the thing that forced you to not engage with people, okay, but help me understand that. Because you're also saying that the SCA did not bully you into this. Well, then what is it about the time that stopped you from being able to delay it a month?
Yeah. Again, I hear you saying that time is not a sufficient explanation, but time was the major determinant of the decision to move forward, even without a consultative arrangement. I think if we sort of step back and think about what that competitive environment was going to look like for us, again, a month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever the duration might have been, we did not. Looking at it from just a competitive perspective, we've been doing. The queue has had a number of upgrades, constantly gets upgraded, so it's been dynamic and changing, but it's always been based on that same 2004 standard. We did scheme out some scenarios about like what would it look like to evolve, and I think it's what it would have looked like to evolve in all of our best thinking was not something that was going to be resolved in a month or even 3 months. To come up with an approach and an education approach that was going to be competitive with the CVA would have taken longer than that. And so the consultation would have been extremely valuable from a relationship perspective. But there was the understanding that our product that we had was the one that we would be bringing to market for the foreseeable future. And so that's why there was never I think that's probably why there was never a like 1 month pause, 3 month pause. We weren't thinking of those kinds of time horizons. It again, I know you're unsatisfied with the answer, but and the thinking behind the answer, but the time really was the determining factor where we said, this is our time frame for a decision, yay or nay, and we're going to commit to a competitive or collaborative approach.
The thing where I'm challenged here is that I think that the pricing model that the SCA has is fantastic. And I think it's a great approach. And I hope that many nonprofits around the world start looking at this kind of approach. Sure, it's got its flaws and it needs to do better, but I think it is the right starting point. What I don't understand is how, if you and your members had gotten together and made a decision that you didn't want to do this licensing agreement, how you couldn't have competed based on a similar pricing structure, given your product is a better quality product.
Well, it's also substantially more expensive. Like we'd had to retool the entire thing. Like that was not really.
But that could have been a decision that was made with all of you. And then collectively come to an understanding of like, all right, how do we get there? We need to move fast. We need to move together. And we need to make some decisions. So either we decide to do this and we do license this to the SCA, or we don't do this and we figure out how we're going to make this together. You could have come to the same result. The result that you came at is almost inconsequential. People are not looking at whether this was a good decision or not. Mm-hmm. You guys lost the opportunity for people to even buy into whether this was a good decision or not. And that's why I'm not focusing on whether this was a good decision or not. It's why I'm focusing on these people are your customers for all intents and purposes. And you made a decision for your customers that has impacted them significantly. And what they are trying to understand is why you would do that to them. You and a board of business elites. If you're a if you're a mission-driven business, and I believe that you're a mission-driven person. If anyone wants to challenge me on that, I'll go toe-to-toe with them. The conversations I've had with you demonstrate that to me very clearly. That's why I'm so confused. Because you're telling me that you weren't bullied. You're telling me that you weren't pressured. How does a mission-driven person decide that they will not seek the consult of the members to make a decision that's going to redefine what our industry experiences and traverses quality into the future? That's the part I'm confused about. And I think that's the part that most people are confused about and this is where the cognitive dissonance is coming from, right? We trusted the CQI. We knew that they weren't like the SCA. The SCA is very clearly, in my opinion and a lot of people's opinions, a commercially profit-driven, they call it surplus, but decisions are based on money. Good people work at the SCA, but the decision-making is clearly revenue-led. People did not see the CQI that way. And the case to make it that you are mission-led was thrown out the window when you made a commercial decision without being consistent in following up with your members. You may have arrived at the same place. You may have made a collective decision and gone there together and figured this out together, that yes, this is the right thing to do. I don't understand, and I am harping on this because I think that everybody deserves to know if there is something there, but I don't understand what it would have done to say and call an emergency meeting with the members and say, we have an important decision that needs to be made, and we need you all on a call in 48 hours. This is going to impact the livelihood of your business. Did the board, was that even a consideration to do something like that?
That was not discussed.
Why?
I think going back to the kind of competitive analysis about our ability to mobilize an effective response, rebuild the queue in a way that was price competitive, still had quality, was not a short-term thing. We'd spent a lot of time gaming out scenarios about how we would position ourselves vis-a-vis a CBA in different competitive environments, and it was the timeframes were prohibitively long, to the point where we didn't feel like we could pivot in any kind of nimble way, given our capacity. And so I think that's why that didn't come up. And I think this is in addition to the challenges that we face in the, for lack of a better term, business environment, the business that we're in of international development and coffee education. In addition to the market-based challenges, we have this fundamental challenge now, which is rebuilding the trust that was broken, if people are open to having it rebuilt. And so I'm acutely aware of the impacts of that decision or non-decision to do what you're talking about. And that is a defining characteristic of our work moving forward, is the need to rebuild trust. And hopefully in the next episode, when we talk about the next 6 months, it's really colored by the reaction that we've seen to this decision and how it was made. Again, to your point, more the process than the content. We understand, like, it should not have happened, and it can't happen again. And so it's been we can't undo it. All we can do is sort of show up every day and do better process and be more transparent and more engaging with the community, and never do anything like this again. So that's that's kind of the task, is coming out like, we feel the sense of betrayal, we feel the hurt, we feel the anger, and we understand it. Because like I said before, this is nobody's idea of a good process. We're trying to learn from it. The feedback that you're giving is not the first time we've heard it. And it's going to be instructive in how we move forward. And I wish I could undo the hurt. Now the task is to try to avoid doing that moving forward, and rebuild trust with people with whom we've strained or broken it.
Before we wrap up this episode, knowing what you know now, would you have taken the pause and asked the members and done this differently if you had it to do over again?
I think separating process from content, I think this is the terms of the outcome are great for the organization. I would absolutely lean into
financially,
more.
You mean? The organization wins financially?
Yeah, to your point earlier, we may have landed in the same place, but unquestionably, based on what we've lived through the last month, I would have leaned more into process and
Michael, that's not an answer. That's not an answer. I would like a more direct answer, if that's okay. Knowing what you know now, having the opportunity to do this again, would you have taken the opportunity to engage with the community before making the decision, or would you have done things the same way that you did them?
I would have absolutely looked to find ways to communicate with the community in a better way than we did, in some way.
The next episode, folks, is going to be recorded in 2 days from now. And so these first three episodes will come out to our Patreon community on Friday, and the following episodes will come out over the weekend. Michael, I want to, before we wrap up, say how grateful I am for this conversation. I know this wasn't an easy conversation. It wasn't easy for me to have this conversation with you. And I think that it was, again, another brave conversation that we had. So I will see you in 2 days for the final 2 episodes of this series. Join us in the next episode, folks, where we're going to talk about the transition, the immediate next steps for the CQI. Peace, love, and peanut butter. Have an amazing rest of your day. This episode is part of a 5-part series produced by Mapper Forward. Check the full playlist and guest details in the show notes, as well as how you can support our work in the coffee industry. Become a premium YouTube subscriber, explore our Patreon and any brands we've partnered with to bring you this podcast. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really does help us grow our audience.